Alright, so there were some other test server changes, like to hard mode, that have probably gone under the radar a little bit. But there's a whole bunch of rebalancing. They made some of them harder, they made some of them easier. Mostly the ones that spawn things, like spawning the duck, or the kangaroo, or like the cats, got harder. And then boomerang and like action figure, the ones that are classically known to just be like instant losses, did become a little bit easier. But is it still actually like a challenge? Is it any easier? Is it any harder? And I can tell you right now, it is still extremely difficult. It is no joke to try to win on hard mode. You still need an absolute high roll and a crazy good endgame team. So it is still a crazy challenge. And in fact, I don't even know if it's any easier. Like, sure, they made some of the super difficult ones a little easier, but like Boomerang still deals 30 damage to your strongest pet, so you don't really want to take that ever anyway. Action figures a little more doable since like it only gives a couple coconuts, but it's still now it goes like front to back where it's actually even harder to deal with because before it was actually back to front. It was kind of a typo, and usually like weak things aren't back, so maybe you could give coconuts to those things. But yeah, now it's really difficult to deal with as well. Luckily, Raccoon is here, and Raccoon can help with the like handkerchief or pen or like stealing coconuts of the other player's team. So Raccoon seems quite nice. It's also just generally a great unit to have because you run into so many melons and like lemons and stuff in the late game. And even like coconuts, if they bought the toy on tier 6, you can steal those. So Raccoon's definitely one of those pets that you want to have. And since this often goes super late game for whatever reason, I just think that's like, yeah, it's almost a must have. You can probably get away with like having some other stuff, but I found it to be really helpful. Anyway, I pilled a beluga just to get the dolphin for its ability because 3 damage early on usually kills something. And so that's pretty good tempo. Just want to have that on the team. And then I could just sell it next turn for 3 gold, which is pretty nice. So glasses you can now see on turn 5. This is actually new. You weren't able to see this before because I imagine at this point a lot of things don't actually have 5 HP. So it actually is just going to buff my team at the moment, but that will change pretty quickly here. Early lobster is just generally like a take, I think. Lobster is extremely good in this pack. Being like able to can lobster, pivot into good late game units is really helpful since they have such nice abilities. I guess the one ability, or the one exception, is Raccoon. That's the one thing that you want to have until the late game. So it's interesting that it's a tier 2. It used to be, or it's a tier 3. It used to be a tier 2. So, I mean, it's still just an incredible ability for a tier 3. I wouldn't be surprised if it's sometime in the future they made it, like, even higher of a tier. But trying to save all of the tier ups for the odd tier rounds because they're just so valuable. Now that you can pick between 2 options, it's even better than before. So it's almost like always you want to wait, unless if you're on lethal about to die or something like that. So putting rice on just the things that I know I'm going to sell, usually a good investment for the future. And there's another level up that can wait. Not a ton to do this turn, so might just buy more food. Yep, apple, rice, tropical fish is going to go, so it makes some sense. Oh, I didn't even bring up the background. I completely forgot. But the background, yeah, there's new backgrounds in there. I fought against some of the other ones in Arena, and this one is the space-themed one, so pretty cool. Always like to see new backgrounds. I mean, who would complain about new backgrounds? They're like the most exciting thing at this point. Alright, so there you see, there's the boomerang. Still not going to take that. Bowling ball, I guess, is okay on turn 7. Sometimes it can be a problem on like turn 5, but able to deal with that at the moment. And the 2 level ups give me, I got 2 snapping turtles, but probably don't want to take that. Goat, even without any synergies, is still kind of useful. Checking for poodle, I do have 2 tier 3s, but still going to be +3/+3, so going to want to go for that. And do I want to give anything a rice? Sure. Just, I seem to buy a lot of rice, but it seems like a decent investment. You can think of it as like a bad avocado, but it doesn't, you decide when you get the extra gold. And generally, trying to save gold for the next turn is a good idea just because, like, the things become stronger as you go up in tiers. So you want to have as much gold for the stronger things as possible. Especially like chocolates. Once you unlock chocolate, that's a pretty big improvement in just being able to, like, or that's a pretty big advantage for just rolling. Alright, going for level 3 raccoon. And might just take this tropical fish since it only costs 2 gold for the goats. And just in case I roll into another one, could be kind of useful. But really relying on this raccoon, actually, like, since you don't always steal equipment early on, even though there's still, I mean, like every single round it seems like it actually is stealing something, but you can put like a lemon on it or something just in case. That way it prevents maybe 7 damage in front, or even a melon, and then if they have some equipment in the second spot, it actually still gets some value. 3 of those tier 4 toy things, not really going to be super useful. There's the lemon, minus 7 damage twice. The other great unit to have in the late game is Panther, which, as you can see right there, it is really nice to have just a well-scaled Panther. And then I'm going to just buy, sell this Stingray, plus the Goat. It really only costs 1 gold, and it's going to give me +6/+6 in 2 turns. And as long as I don't die, that's going to be really useful. But Panther, Lemon, pretty amazing combo. And then the other things you really want late game are like bats and maybe like lionfish. So there's quite a few things, I guess, that you're looking for in the end game, but a lot of times just pure stats. There's a lot of raccoons I've been running into. Luckily, just having raccoon versus raccoon, as long as you have bigger raccoon, it kind of gets rid of their raccoon. I said raccoon way too many times in that sentence. But I probably should talk more about the actual balance changes. Do I think hard mode is like still any better, or is it fun? Is it too much RNG? I would say it's still really difficult to deal with. Even with these changes where they try to make it a little more even, it still feels so lopsided sometimes, where one option just feels like an instant loss, and then the other option is just like, okay, I'll just take yo-yo and put like a honey in the back, and it's like no problem whatsoever. So, I mean, there's some drastic differences between the actual choices. They could try to bring back 3 options if they want to make it a little bit easier, because right now, hard mode is absurdly hard. Like, even the best players cannot really consistently win at hard mode. Like, my win rate at best was like around maybe 33% or something like that. I really don't know the exact amount, but when I was doing ribbon hunting, it was getting like occasionally I feel like I would do really well and I would like win. My best is like 3 in a row, which is still not very many, but it was tough to deal with. Occasionally feel like I'd get a streak going, maybe win like 5 out of 10, but most of the time probably a little bit less than that. So it took a really long time just to get those ribbons. And yeah, taking pen is not too bad with raccoons since you usually just steal their equipment and it's not too much of an issue. It does kind of suck with Panther, but it's better than the alternative, which I think was glasses. Like, glasses should not show up on tier 6, I think, just because it feels like an instant loss for the most part. The only thing that can really deal with that is like all peppers, but that's only going to be in certain packs, of course. So now I have like level 2 T-Rex, level 2 Poodle. T-Rex is absolutely insane. It got a slight nerf to like 6 attack, but still just an absolute monster for scaling. They kind of buffed it. I feel like I mentioned this before, but now it doesn't actually cost any gold, but it buffs everything tier 5 and above. But the thing is, like, so many of the good pets are tier 5 and above anyway. Like, they made Panther tier 5, so now it works with T-Rex. It does kind of anti-synergy a little bit with Poodle, but at least the Poodle's buffing the Raccoon, so... yeah, I guess that works out pretty well. Go for level 2 Panther. I maybe should have bought the Panthers there so I get the extra gold from the Goat instead, but I kind of messed that up. Oh well. And yeah, so minus 14 damage twice from the Panther. Like, these are some of the best late game units possible, so really strong team right here. And I would be shocked if I lost. Although, I lost a run previously with this, also with like a level 3 Raccoon that was 50-50. And somehow, like, the team that I ran against was even better. It's kind of crazy, the teams that you run into in the late game. They are way too good, but it just turned 14, still scaling pretty nicely. And, yeah, I mean, should just be a win, right? You would think. Stealing skewers pretty nice, stealing both the skewers. And, oh, one of the things I did want to mention was scissors. Scissors actually got changed. It used to be front and back, reduced to 1 HP each, which wasn't too hard to deal with. It was one of those options that was, like, you usually want to take, but it was really susceptible to snipers. Because if you put something weak in front and it dies to a dolphin, and your strongest unit is second, then, like, your unit would just go down to 1 HP. But now, it's your healthiest enemies, so your strongest pets immediately go down to 1 HP. So they made scissors insane and really difficult to deal with. And, like, that, I don't know, just that single change might make hard mode actually even harder. Because, like, the other nerfs aren't really super significant. Maybe you try to take action figure, like, slightly more, but still, you're trying to avoid, like, boomerang and stuff for the most part. So I don't even know if it's that much easier. But looking good, full equipment on the team. Dice Cup is pretty bad with this team since you really want Raccoon in front. And it looks like a fairly strong team, but just barely able to get through it. Level 3 Panther, that's minus 56 damage, or pretty much plus 56 HP as long as it doesn't like get splash attacked or something. And there's not really a lot for me to do at this point. Like I'm pretty much just looking for like salads and mangoes or something, but no equipment there. And sure, take a stake since there's a chance it could get one shot through melon, I suppose. And turn 17. What is the team going to be? It's pretty much all 50-50s at this point. Okay, just kidding. Not quite. But actually, with the donuts and the Panther, that was pretty close. Level 3 Beluga, not really going to be too difficult to deal with in late game. And there we go. So actually get a win. It took me quite a few attempts to actually get this. And it was a pretty optimal one-game team with Raccoon and Panther. So hard mode, still ridiculously hard. Maybe even harder than before. I don't really know. But thanks for watching. See ya.